Okay. Alrighty. And make sure I have that. Okay. Okay. All right. We're ready. I think everything's up. We're live. Let's see. Make sure. We just started using StreamYard. So I
I
always
love it.
check and double check to make sure everything's up. Okay. You're good. I'm wondering why it's not. Okay. But it's got me over here. Okay. Awesome. All right. We're ready to go. Okay. Here we go. In three, two, one. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the CBO Speaks podcast. I'm your host, Donna Shealy, and glad to be with you again. Today's guest is Harry Allen. He is the Executive VP for Financial Excellence and CFO at Belmont University. Hello, Harry, and welcome.
Hello. Thank you, Donna. Glad to be here.
So glad to have you. All right. So we're going to go back. You've had an impressive journey in banking and finance and administration. So I want you to go back and tell us what first drew you into the world of banking and finance.
Oh, wow. I was a management major in undergrad, and I
Mm-hmm.
interned with a bank, a regional bank, SunTrust Bank, as a
Okay.
college student. And every summer during my undergraduate years, I interned with the bank. And in October of my senior year, was offered a job in their commercial banking training program. And so I had no idea, Donna, what banking was as an
Mm-hmm.
18-year-old, but loved it and loved especially partnering with organizations and institutions as a financial advisor and helping them reach whatever goals and strategies they had implemented.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. So, your career, obviously, as we stated, started in banking and you've
Mhm.
held leadership roles in various financial institutions. So, what was it like transitioning from your early roles to actually co founding Studio Bank,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. Talk
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah, that was an unexpected career turn,
Okay.
for sure. But when I guess I was 34 and was the director of nonprofit banking for a local bank here in Nashville, Tennessee. And
Hmm.
when it sold to a much larger regional bank, I'm from Nashville, a Nashville native, and I
Okay.
understood very well the importance of locally headquartered banks where all of the decisions for where capital was flowing was made by neighbors in a
Mm,
community. And even as Nashville was growing, I felt that our institutions, our businesses, our nonprofits needed a bank that was local. And so me and a friend of mine started to dream
mhm.
first, and then that dream turned into somewhat of a business plan that folks were buying into. And yeah, before you knew it, we were in our 30s starting the first bank to launch in Nashville. We opened in 2018, and it was the first one to launch since 2008. And still,
Wow.
a tremendous success. It's 80 employees now.
Wow.
And when we opened, we were the 65th bank operating in the market, and we're like the 19th largest after 6 years. So
Oh my
it's been
goodness.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah, that's wow. Well, I don't even know where to start. You have so many things. You have so many things. I'm just so impressed. So okay, so Studio Bank, I mean,
Yes.
like you just said, has seen impressive growth under your leadership,
Mhm.
reaching $1 billion in assets.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what do you attribute to the bank's rapid success and talk
Yeah.
about your leadership style, how it influenced
Yeah.
its
Yeah.
culture and the growth.
Yeah. So when we were starting the company, I chose for my title Chief Relationship Officer.
Okay.
And I believe that, banking is about relationships. And
Mhm.
when you think about what led to the early success of Studio, I think it's the way that we engaged the community around us. We raised our capital from local Nashvillians, business
Mhm.
owners.
Mhm.
I think we have over 500 investors in the bank that are all right here in our community. And because they're owners of the bank, they were our first ambassadors and clients, and told their
Mhm.
friends. And we grew the bank one authentic relationship at a time.
Right.
And that's how I lead. I think that anything great is accomplished through people who are well aligned to a vision and a mission.
Yeah.
And we articulated the purpose very clearly of why we wanted to start the 65th bank in a city. Nashville's
Mhm.
not underbanked by any
Right,
means.
right.
But we felt like, we wanted to be a bank that offered true partnership, not just great service.
Right.
And that's the promise we made, and folks bought into it.
Wow, wow, and I'm reading your background. I mean, there's so many things, in your personal, like you've been
Mhm.
named one of Nashville's most powerful people. And I mean, growing up
Crazy.
there, I'm sure that's like, I mean, just mind blowing to you. I mean, that's pretty impressive. So, what does it mean to you to receive all those accolades? And how do you
You know, it's
balance that,
it's
being from there?
right, right, right. So Nashville feels really small to me, and my
Mhm.
kids, I think they secretly like it, but openly are annoyed because we can't go anywhere without me running into someone that I know.
Right.
Um, but it's very meaningful. This is the only
Mhm.
city that I've chosen to call home,
Mhm.
and to be able to serve the community that has raised me
Yeah.
is important to me. The accolades and recognition sometimes is awkward because I'm just doing what was modeled by my parents.
Mhm.
Service
Right.
to others is just how I was raised. And the
Mhm.
power thing in particular, at first, was really awkward for me, but I do believe that there's power in relationships. And
Yes.
I tell people my network is a whole lot more valuable than my net worth right
Okay.
now.
Yes. Yes.
But yeah, being authentic and nurturing relationships over time can yield significant dividends, and I've been a beneficiary of that early investment in relationships.
Oh, that's awesome. All right. Well, we're going to go back to some more of your, civic contributions, but I do want to talk about your education.
Yeah.
You did a double graduate of Belmont University. You earned both your bachelor's and your MBA there. So, talk about your time at Belmont and how it shaped your career and your leadership
Yeah.
philosophy.
Belmont was such a great institution. Obviously, I went back. I'm a repeat customer.
Mhm.
But I had a phenomenal undergraduate experience. I think that the institution's focus on teaching, and
Mhm.
it's not a heavy research institution,
Right.
but the education is really high quality, and the professors are truly interested in their students'
Yeah.
lives.
Mhm.
And that was real for me. Many of my professors are still friends today, and now that I'm back
Wow.
on campus working,
Mhm.
it's really strange to see folks that knew me from my undergraduate years here. But I was able to do everything I thought I wanted to do in undergrad. I
Yeah.
served in student government, studied abroad my junior year.
Mhm.
It was right sized, and even though it was in my hometown, I made Belmont my city within a city, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I think my parents said that they were pretty sure out of state students saw their parents more frequently
right.
than I did, and I'm 15 minutes away. But
Right.
it was my home for 4 years.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And now you're back.
And now I'm back. Yep.
Yes. Well, as before we go and talk about all the things that you're doing now there, I do wanna talk about, Belmont's commitment to innovation and
Mm,
entrepreneurship, particularly in
mhm,
Nashville,
mhm.
and how you think the university, is continuing to contribute to the city's growing business,
Yeah.
ecosystem, especially in banking and
Yeah.
finance.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep. Yeah. And when you look at Belmont's growth over the
Mhm.
last 20 years,
Mhm.
and Nashville's growth over that same time period. You
Mhm.
you can't separate the two.
Yeah.
Nashville has grown just as Belmont has grown, and Belmont has maintained a strong relationship to the city
Mhm.
um, as a source for workforce development. You know,
Yeah.
our students come from all over the country and several other countries in the world, but
Mhm.
they are attracted because they can get a great education and find work in a vibrant and growing city like Nashville.
Yeah.
And so we've intentionally partnered with industry in the sectors that are meaningful to this
Mhm.
city: healthcare and health
Mhm.
services, music business, and entertainment.
Yeah.
Our campus is adjacent to Music Row, and
Oh,
we have a building on Music Row.
yeah.
So students can easily connect the theory and learning in the classroom to jobs that exist in the marketplace because we are in a market that's presenting tremendous opportunity.
Yeah. Wow. Well, talk to us about everything that you oversee, at Belmont.
Yeah, so I'm just over 90 days in, and I think I'm learning more and more what
Yeah.
I'm responsible for. But it's finance and accounting,
Mhm.
budgeting and planning. So not just the tactical and transactional piece, but where
Right.
are we going, the strategy piece, facilities and
Mhm.
groundskeeping,
Mhm.
construction, and I interact a lot with HR and
Mhm.
IT as well. So it's somewhat of a finance and operations role.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
So when we talk about I know you're still, new to this particular position. When we talk about your day to day, what does
Mhm.
that look like for you so far?
Yeah, so a lot of coordination and collaboration across campus.
Mhm. Mhm.
You mentioned Belmont and its innovation and entrepreneurial spirit. I'd say that
Mhm.
is very real and true.
Yeah.
And as deans and faculty on the academic side, as well as our operations and event management services on the
Mhm.
staff side, they all need
Mhm.
partnership in terms of helping optimize their business plans. And so I'm a
Mhm.
collaborator in that process as we look to develop new programs or diversify our revenue streams. And
Mhm.
that work is fun for me. It's similar to banking,
Right.
sitting down with business owners and discussing their business plans and putting financial solutions and strategies in place is what I've been doing for the last 24 years. Now I get to
Mhm.
do it with a very complex and growing institution that means a whole lot to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's huge. So what common leadership principles do you apply, across
Hmm.
the different roles that you've had? I mean, you've held so many leadership roles in, a
Hmm.
variety of organizations from finance to nonprofit.
Hmm.
So are there some common leadership principles that you've
I
applied?
think so.
Okay.
Yeah. Some of the things I've told others when asked this question,
Mhm.
I try to be more interested than
Mhm.
interesting.
Ah.
And so I show up to tables to listen and learn. And I think when you spend time doing that first,
Mhm.
you get a true understanding of what the person's goals and motivations are versus coming to the table ready to say no to something.
Yeah.
let's
Yeah.
let's listen first, because there may be a mutually agreed upon solution that we can find.
Yeah.
I'm also a naturally curious person, so I try to be curious and not judgmental.
Mhm.
I'm a Ted Lasso fan, and when he said that quote in one of the episodes, I was like, yes.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, and I think that I view my role in the many roles that I've had in my career. I'm
Mhm.
mostly one that is empowering others and
Yeah.
serving as a catalyst. And so I don't mind partnering with the visionary. I'm not always the one with the idea, but I get
Mm.
really excited about making that idea real in the world. Um,
Mm.
and I think that that's what makes humans, unique, even as we think about artificial intelligence. Don't
Yeah.
know yet that they can, machines can dream and then make that dream real. I think that's a quality that's uniquely ours, but it takes
Yeah.
collaboration and partnership.
That's right. Oh my goodness, that's great. Talking about AI and
Oh
talking
my
about,
gosh.
looking ahead and the future of higher ed. I mean,
Hmm. Hmm.
talk to me a little bit about that, what you envision, the future of higher ed with,
Yeah.
with AI and all of that.
Yeah. And this is one of the things that um, really attracted me to this opportunity. I
Mhm.
think that what the co-founders did at Studio Bank in terms of banking,
Mhm.
I think a similar type of disruption and innovation is on the horizon in higher ed. I think that
Mhm.
higher ed institutions will have to become
Yeah.
more innovative, more
Mm.
nimble, because the context is changing. The value proposition that we're making to 18-year-olds
Mhm.
has to be crystal clear.
Oh, yeah.
And so, I am excited about the opportunity to figure out how we can face these challenges. And AI is, in my opinion, not a threat.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
I think it will just require us to recall what's special about us and focus on that creativity and innovation and entrepreneurship. These are the things that will continue to drive our economy forward. And AI becomes a tool that makes
Yeah.
us more efficient in some ways, which frees us up to dream better
Mhm.
and deeper and richer. And the problems that we are facing will require some deep, deep thought for
Oh,
sure.
yeah. For
So
sure.
yeah, I am not, you know, I don't have as much fear as I have excitement
Oh,
for opportunities. Yeah.
no, that's great. So what advice would you offer to emerging leaders in higher ed, who aspire to take on the CBO role in the
Yeah.
future?
Yeah. So, our institutions have issues that they're facing. And
Yeah.
I would say to those emerging leaders, raise your hand for special projects or committees or opportunities to serve and help the executive team figure out these issues. That may
Mhm.
mean taking on a little bit more than the
Mhm.
duties assigned.
Yeah.
But when you show up with a posture of service and I think that's where the learning is. It's almost always outside of your comfort zone. So
Yeah.
stretch yourself a little bit. I also think serving the community has been a big
Yeah.
part of my advancement. Even
Yeah.
before my employer was ready to give me a task,
Mhm.
you serve on a board, and all of a sudden you're on the strategic planning committee of a nonprofit, and that's learning that you may not yet have received at your employer. But once you have those skills, you can bring them back in. And so I tell people all the time, look for ways to get involved
Yeah.
in your community as well as part of your development.
Yeah. Well, you've definitely mastered that. I mean, looking back at your career from working at Avenue Bank and,
Mhm.
Big Brothers, Big Sisters to co-founding Studio Bank, what would you say has been the most defining moment or turning point for you? Because you've done a lot.
Yeah. I mean, and lots of like pivotal moments that I would have never, like, this was not on a vision board.
Right. Wow.
I mean, gosh, the most significant moment was probably the last,
Mm.
being asked to serve. So I was on the board of trustees at Belmont,
Mhm.
and when the CFO, after 27 years, retired, that's what
Mhm.
presented this opportunity.
Okay.
And um, it's been challenging and fun and surprising, right? So I have to say that I would have said the bank because I never
Right.
would have envisioned starting a bank.
Right.
But I think when you are the best steward of what you've been given, and if you work the hardest at the task that you have,
Mhm.
opportunities that you never would have foreseen emerge. And
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll be here 27 years. I
Right.
think I'll be here a long, long time. But I have no idea how many more pivotal moments are.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that's pretty impressive. So, I mean, we did talk a little bit about looking ahead and looking in the
Mhm.
future, but how do you see your role evolving, between your work in finance,
Mhm.
and your contributions to higher education? What would you think is next? I know you're still new to this role,
I
but in
am.
terms of making, an impact in both
Yeah.
areas. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I think what's on the horizon for this role is to really I think that the Office of Finance and Accounting has been reacting,
Mhm.
um, and the our university in particular has experienced explosive growth,
Mm.
starting around 2000, 2001.
Mhm.
When I graduated, we were 2,900 students. We're 8,800 now,
Mm.
and there's been a lot of change and growth. I think now we have an opportunity to um, think about building infrastructure and systems that
Mhm.
make us smarter
Yeah.
and be more proactive in our planning and decision making versus reactive, and really offer ourselves in our office as a resource um,
Yeah.
on the front end versus uh, reacting to the big initiatives as they've landed. I was on the board during many of
Mhm.
those conversations about growth and expansion, and there'll
Yeah.
still be some of that, but it will be done in a different way, I believe.
Yeah. Well, as we close out, Harry, I always like to talk about legacy and what legacy do you hope to leave behind?
Oh wow.
Um, I mean, you've done so much, and it's just
Mm.
so community focused, which I think is amazing. So when you look at what you're doing in this current role and in the broader field of um, the community, business community, what do you hope to leave behind legacy wise?
Um, so my son's on fall break and
Hmm.
actually is in the conference room adjacent to here. So when I
Oh,
think
wow.
about my legacy, it's really what kind of humans I'm
Yeah.
raising, and I
Yeah.
think that I hope that I model my life in a way that inspires others
Hmm.
um, to give. I
Yeah.
think that we show gratitude for what we've been given by
Hmm.
giving it back.
Hmm.
Um, and so, my legacy will be one of service and philanthropy,
Hmm.
and trying to make the world from where I sit a little bit better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. How old is your son?
So I have an 8-year-old son and
Mhm.
2 daughters, 11 and 13, and,
Okay.
yeah, they keep me busy.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I'm sure. I'm sure they do. Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, listen, thank you so much. I mean, for being such a key figure, um, not only just in Nashville's business community, but just in higher education as a whole, bringing all of that experience and influence and leadership to Belmont. I mean, it's just priceless. So just thank you.
It's a pleasure. Yeah, my
Yeah.
pleasure.
Yes, thank you. And thank you all for joining us for this episode of CBO Speaks. It's brought to you by the National Association of College and University Business Officers. You can find resources for today's episode as well as a wide variety of research and tools at dakubo.org. Make sure you subscribe to CBO Speaks wherever you get your podcasts and so that you can get the latest episodes instantly. And on behalf of Harry Allen of Belmont University, I want to thank you for joining us on CBO Speaks. I'm Donna Shealy. Be well. Awesome. Okay, did I do it right? Okay.